The entire lobby went silent the moment her voice cracked through the air. "Get him out of my building! Now!" Every head turned. Phones paused mid-scroll. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the soft hum of the air conditioning seemed to retreat, as if the building itself didn't want to be part of what was about to happen. Clara Whitmore stood at the center of it all. Perfect posture, tailored black suit, heels sharp enough to echo authority with every step. Her expression was carved from impatience and control, the kind that didn't tolerate mistakes. And right in front of her was a man who looked like one. The old janitor trembled slightly, gripping a worn-out mop stick like it was the only thing keeping him upright. His clothes were faded, unevenly stitched in places, like life had torn him apart more than once, and he had no choice but to keep patching himself back together. "Ma'am, please," he said, voice low, cracked, almost swallowed by the vast lobby. "I didn't mean to—" "You didn't mean to?" Clara cut in sharply, stepping closer. "You spilled water across the executive hallway. Do you have any idea who could have slipped? Do you even understand where you are?" A few employees nearby exchanged uneasy glances. Someone raised a phone, subtly recording. The old man lowered his eyes. "I was trying to clean it, ma'am." "Trying isn't good enough here," Clara snapped. Her gaze hardened, scanning him like he was something that didn't belong in her world, and to her, he didn't. "Security." Two tall men in suits stepped forward instantly, their presence heavy, practiced. They each grabbed the janitor by the arms. The old man staggered. "Please," he said again, his voice shaking now, more desperate. "I need this job. Just give me one more—" "I said take him out." That was it. No hesitation, no second glance. The guards tightened their grip and began dragging him toward the glass exit doors. His mop slipped from his hand, clattering loudly against the marble floor, a sharp, echoing sound that made a few people flinch. He didn't fight back. He just looked broken. As they pushed him forward, his knees nearly gave out. For a brief second, he turned his head, not toward Clara, but toward the crowd. Their reactions said everything. Some covered their mouths, some looked away, some kept recording. Clara didn't look at any of them. She had already turned, already moving on, already done with him. "Have maintenance send someone competent next time," she said coldly to her assistant, adjusting her sleeve as if nothing had happened. And just like that, the moment was over. Or at least, it seemed like it. By noon, the building had returned to its usual rhythm, polished, efficient, untouchable. Clara sat in her office on the 27th floor, overlooking the city skyline. From up here, everything looked small, manageable, predictable, just the way she liked it. Her assistant, Daniel, stepped in carefully. "The board meeting is confirmed for 2 p.m., he said. "All executives will be present." Clara nodded, eyes still on her screen. "Good. Today decides everything." Daniel hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "About this morning." Clara didn't look up. "If you're here to question my decision, don't," she said flatly. "It's not that," he replied. "It's just, some of the staff felt it was a bit what?" she interrupted, finally lifting her gaze. "Harsh." The word lingered. Clara leaned back slightly, studying him. "This company runs on standards, Daniel, not sympathy." "Yes, ma'am." She returned to her screen. "Close the door on your way out." Daniel did as told, but his expression said what he didn't dare to. Something about that incident didn't sit right. 2 p.m. came faster than expected. The boardroom was everything the lobby wasn't. Quiet, controlled, powerful. Long, polished table. Leather chairs. Floor-to-ceiling windows casting natural light across a room where decisions worth millions were made like casual conversations. Clara walked in with confidence. This was her space, her battlefield, her victory. Executives were already seated, murmuring among themselves. Some nodded in acknowledgement as she entered. Others barely looked up. Typical. She took her seat, placing her files neatly in front of her. "Let's begin," she said. But just as the meeting was about to start, the door opened. Late. Unusual. Every head turned. Clara frowned slightly. "We're in session, whoever—" She stopped, because the man who walked in didn't belong, at least not in the way anyone expected. He wasn't dressed like the janitor from earlier, not exactly, but there was no mistaking him. The same face, the same tired eyes, the same quiet presence. Only now, something was different. He wasn't holding a mop, he wasn't being dragged, and no one was stopping him. Instead, one of the senior board members stood up. "Ah," the man said respectfully, "you're here." Respectfully. Clara's stomach tightened. The old man nodded once, calmly, and walked further into the room. No one laughed. No one questioned it. In fact, several people straightened in their seats. Clara's fingers slowly curled against the table. Something was wrong, very wrong. "Who is this?" she asked, her voice controlled but sharp. The room went quiet. The senior board member turned to her, almost surprised by the question. Then he said the words that made her chest go cold. "You mean, you don't recognize him?" A pause. A long, suffocating pause. Then, "This is Mr. Elijah Grant." The name dropped like a stone in water, and everything inside Clara shifted. Elijah Grant, the founder, the silent majority shareholder, the man who hadn't attended a board meeting in over 5 years, the man whose approval controlled everything. Clara blinked. Once. Twice. "No," she said under her breath, almost instinctively. But it was him, standing there, looking directly at her, not angry, not loud, just watching. And for the first time that day, Clara Whitmore felt something unfamiliar creep into her chest. Not control, not authority, but something far more dangerous. Elijah took a seat at the head of the table. The room remained silent. Then he spoke, calm, measured. "Let's begin." But his eyes never left Clara, and in that moment, she realized something that made her pulse rise. This meeting was no longer about business. It was about her, and whatever came next would not be in her control. No one spoke, not after the name settled into the room like a verdict. Clara Whitmore sat frozen, her confidence, so carefully built, so flawlessly displayed, beginning to fracture beneath the weight of one realization. She had just fired the wrong man. Not just wrong, the worst possible man. At the head of the table, Elijah Grant rested his hands lightly on the polished wood, his expression unreadable. The room waited on him now, not her. Clara swallowed, forcing her composure back into place. "There must be some misunderstanding," she said, her voice steady but only just. "This man was working as a janitor this morning. I personally—" "Yes," Elijah interrupted calmly. "I was." The simplicity of his answer hit harder than any accusation. A faint ripple moved through the board members. Some shifted in their seats. Others avoided Clara's gaze entirely. Clara's throat tightened. "Why would you—" "Work here?" Elijah finished for her. He leaned back slightly, eyes still locked on hers. "To observe." The word echoed. "Observe what happens when no one knows who I am. How people behave when titles are removed, when power isn't visible." Clara felt heat rise in her chest. "And what exactly were you hoping to find?" she asked, her tone sharpening as if she could still regain ground. Elijah didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and placed something on the table. A phone. He tapped it once, and then the screen lit up. Video. The lobby. Her voice. "Get him out of my building, now!" The room froze. Clara's own words came back at her, louder than they had felt in the moment. Colder, sharper, final. She didn't move, couldn't. "You didn't mean to," her voice echoed from the device. "You spilled water across the executive hallway. Do you even understand where you are?" Someone at the table exhaled slowly. Another looked down. Clara's chest tightened as the video continued. Her dismissal, the guards dragging him away, the mop hitting the floor, the pleading, the silence. Then the clip ended. Elijah turned the phone off. The quiet that followed was suffocating. Clara forced a breath. "With all due respect," she began, "discipline is necessary in a company of this level. Standards must be—" "Standards?" Elijah said softly. He leaned forward now. "Or dignity." That landed. Hard. Clara's mouth opened slightly, but no words came. "You didn't ask what happened," Elijah continued. "You didn't ask if I was hurt. You didn't ask how long I'd worked here." His voice never rose. That made it worse. "You saw someone you believed had no value, and you removed him." Clara felt every eye in the room shift toward her. For the first time in years, she had no control over the narrative. "I was maintaining order," she said, quieter now. "That's my responsibility." "And how you treat the lowest person in your building," Elijah replied, "is the clearest reflection of your leadership." Silence again. But this time it wasn't empty. It was heavy, decisive. One of the senior board members cleared his throat. "Mr. Grant," he said carefully, "are you suggesting—" "I'm not suggesting anything," Elijah said, cutting in gently. "I'm showing you who is making decisions in this company." His gaze moved briefly across the room, then back to Clara, "and asking whether that aligns with what we claim to stand for." That was it. The moment everything shifted. Clara felt it, the invisible line where power quietly changes hands. She looked around the table, faces she had worked with, influenced, even intimidated. Now? They weren't with her. They were watching her, measuring, judging, the same way she had judged him. Her fingers tightened slightly on the edge of the table. "This is one incident," she said, trying one last time. "You're making a conclusion based on a single moment." Elijah nodded slowly. "No," he said. "I'm making a decision based on a moment that revealed everything." Another silence. Then, he turned slightly. "I'd like a vote." That was the final blow. The board members straightened, formal, serious, real. Clara's pulse spiked. "You can't be serious," she said, her voice finally cracking. But no one answered her. One by one, hands began to raise. Slow, reluctant for some, certain for others, but they rose. And with each one, Clara felt her position slipping further away, until it was done. No applause, no announcement, just a quiet, irreversible outcome. Elijah stood. "Effective immediately," he said calmly, "Clara Whitmore is relieved of her position as executive director." The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They landed exactly where they were meant to. Clara sat there unmoving. The room she once controlled now felt foreign, distant, gone. She let out a slow breath, her eyes dropping for the first time. Not in anger, not in defiance, but in realization. All of it, undone in a single moment she thought didn't matter. Elijah paused before leaving. Then he said one final thing, not just to her, but to everyone. "Respect is not a strategy," he said. "It's a standard." And then he walked out. The same lobby, the same marble floors. But this time, Clara wasn't walking through it as the most powerful person in the building. She walked alone. No assistant, no authority, just the quiet weight of consequence. A few employees looked up. Some recognized her, some didn't. But none of them reacted the way they used to. And for the first time, she understood exactly what that felt like. Invisible, powerless, judged. She stopped briefly near the exit. Her eyes fell to the floor, the same place where the mop had hit, the same place she chose not to look twice. Now, it was the only thing she could see. What do you think? Did she deserve what happened to her, or was it too harsh? If you were Elijah, would you have fired her, or given her a second chance? Drop your thoughts below, let's talk. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold stories like this.